This is the sound of blind football. The action is frantic, end-to-end and entertaining. The northwest of England's home to one of the UK's most successful sides, who, despite being a completely self-funded grassroots club, have been winning both domestic and European silverware. Merseyside Blind F.C. Before we find out more about Merseyside, I'm sure many of you are wondering, how exactly does blind football work? Blind football is a five-a-side game based on the sport of futsal. The four outfield players wear blindfolds and are therefore guided by sound alone. Blind football uses a special rattling ball so the players can hear it if it is to their left, to their right, or in front of them. Each team has a fully sighted goalkeeper who must stay inside their 2x2 metre area. The goalkeeper also acts as a guide, issuing instructions to the defenders. When the ball's in the middle of the pitch, the team's head coach will often be found shouting to help guide the players. Behind the opposition's goal is another guide, who tells the attackers when to shoot. They also tap the frame of the goal with a stick when there is a free kick or a penalty. Here's how it sounds when everything goes to plan.
Right post. I'm centre. Right finish. Yeah, right. Finish. Right.
And last but by no means least, the players must shout "voy," Spanish for "I'm going," when closing down the ball or an opponent. This helps prevent unnecessary collisions, which is lucky really because the game is physically intense enough in the first place, whether it's crashing into the perimeter wall or crashing into each other. This is not a game for the shrinking violet. Here's Merseyside's head coach Steve Cushion to explain how the club was formed and how he first got involved in the sport.
In 2010, the club was set up with Roy Turnham and Matt Cliff for blind players to have a format of football to play. In 2011-2012, we entered the National Blind League as a team. I initially was one of the sighted goalkeepers. So my involvement from the club point of view was as a goalkeeper, initially doing a little bit of coaching, and then as I stopped playing towards the end of my career, I started taking on more coaching responsibilities, and now I'm sort of head coach, bottle washer, kit washer, you name it. I helped at a World Cup in Hereford in 2010, so my cousin ran the event for the FA, so I helped as a volunteer, and I really just fell in love with the sport. If I'm honest, mate, it most probably changed my outlook on football and sport and to a certain degree life.
One of the people Steve mentioned is a very busy man. He is a sports coach, a club founder, a singer, a guitarist, a drummer. He appears alongside the likes of David Beckham, Jill Scott and Sir Bobby Charlton on an installation at St George's Park celebrating England's most capped players.
Hi, my name's Roy Turnham. I am a Paralympic blind footballer. I've played for England and Great Britain since 2011, and I'm also the captain of Merseyside Blind F.C.
Under Roy's captaincy, the club has gone from strength to strength, winning European tournaments in Germany and the Czech Republic in the last 12 months. But what does Roy think the secret to the club's success is down to?
I think it's the appreciation and the feeling of belonging to something. There's a great sense of kind of family, and they look after you as players. You know, they'll go out of their way to do things like, you know, an example would be, God, the amount of mileage that Steve and Diggsy cover to get around the country to do things, you know, to go above and beyond, I think is phenomenal. Like, you know, there's been a lot of train strikes over the last couple of years. And I remember Steve driving all the way to Sheffield, the club paying for me to get a taxi from Hull to Sheffield so that I could meet Steve and Steve could pick up one of our other players who's at Sheffield University. And then Steve drove us the rest of the way down to Hereford. When you see the commitment and the dedication from other people, It drives those. It's not just the standards, but when you go away to these tournaments, you think, wow, what an amazing thing to be part of. You feel it's that sense of belonging to something, and really you're in it for everyone, not just yourself, the players, but for the staff as well. And you want to do it. I mean, the results kind of take care of themselves. This club is held together by the dedicated work of people who do it, alongside having full-time work commitments.
Merseyside's influence is extending further than the northwest. Roy and the club's coaches are here at the University of Hull, hoping to inspire the next generation of blind and visually impaired footballers. A young girl gingerly walks past coach Darren White, known as Diggsy, waiting to receive a pass. But it's through these first tentative steps that confidence and independence can grow. Rainbow Umbuangi is one of the country's young stars. He's achieved a rapid ascent to the top level of the game, representing England over 20 times. But what does he get out of playing for Merseyside Blind?
It's just that freedom of being able to play the sport. I think blind football is definitely one of the better blind sports out there, which is a lot more independent, where you're running on your own. I think it just gives you that freedom to move and being able to stay physically active. But then there's other bigger benefits, such as like the psychological and the social elements of being able to make new friends, being able to talk to people who are in your lived experiences as well. For someone like me, it gives me that push to be like, I want to be the best. I want to be like the best blind football in the country. I want to be the best blind football in the world. Obviously, me playing for England, with me having 21 caps, it kind of gives me that push to I want to play more for England.
As Rainbow has just described, creating a positive and inclusive environment off the pitch is in many ways more important than the results on it. This is certainly something that is backed up by the boss.
What you'd like to create within any, I suppose, physical activity sport session is that people take away obviously a physical bit, so they're improving the physically, socially, because we're talking about a team sport. That's massive. And what you're dealing with the social side is you're dealing with individuals that have also had the same barriers or similar barriers, so being able to socially sort of ask your peers how to get round a situation, whether that's something on your mobile phone, whether that's how to get a bus, whether that's how to get a train. One of Rainbow's biggest developments over the last couple of years is in being more independent traveller. Prior to him going to university, he didn't get public transport by himself. He was always with somebody, and now he's a frequent traveller around the country. I think the independence that sport and physical activity can create for somebody is massive, literally. And when you're talking about visually impaired and blind, what you're talking about is you're taking the main sense that people navigate the world with, literally, and not saying any of the other impairments aren't sort of have barriers, but when you can't see something, it's you're relying on sounds and things as well, and things to get you round. So the independence and I think the mental well-being, being physically active and so you're looking at more, I suppose, a holistic approach to well-being. And I think that's what we try and create, where the coaches are supportive. We try and improve people on and off the pitch. I think that's sort of why people come back to us, and I think why people like playing for us, because we try and create that environment for people to, I suppose, be successful on and off the pitch. It's not just about, on the pitch, it's about off the pitch as well.
Stee is not wrong when he says Rainbow is now an independent traveller. He's recently been seen in the front of the Premier League darts in Manchester. He cycled around the country on a rickshaw for children in need, and later this year he'll be attending his first Formula One race. There's a word that keeps recurring when you speak to anyone involved with Merseyside Blind, be that players, their relatives or their coaches. Freedom. Let's hear Roy's thoughts.
Yeah, I think there's so many other aspects of your life where, whether it's you or whether it's other expectations of you from other people, there's a lot of times where you don't feel like you can move without somebody putting their hand on your shoulder and trying to, whether you want it or not, trying to guide you somewhere. Or there's times when you accept that you kind of need to use a cane or 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 you have a good relationship, with a guide dog, which I do, and but I do use a cane as well. I think looking at it from my perspective, so I grew up in a situation where, in general, I was allowed to have as much freedom as a blind person can have in that respect, and the freedom to explore, the freedom to make mistakes, to trip up and fall like any other kid would do, well, obviously, within reason, but it's important to allow people to do that. But I found, even with athletics, so when you're running around a track, you're running with a guide, and I always enjoyed the sessions most when I used to go down to a park where there was a big field and a big space, and I could run freely with, either to somebody else's call or alongside, just independently, but with somebody else, and having that space. And blind football is quite unique in terms of, relating in relation to many other blind sports, in that it is, I mean, it's incredibly challenging. You need to have that spatial awareness to be able to do it. But the freedom is so, because it is so different to a lot of other aspects of life and sport. It is an incredible, feeling to have that, that complete physical freedom to express yourself. And you react to coaches' instructions in the same way that any other, a sighted footballer would. Your coach tells you to do something, but you're the one physically in control of those actions. And to have that, I think it is something that is not available enough for blind and partially sighted people at times.
And there it is again, freedom. Just one of the many things Merseyside Blind FC can provide. If you like what you hear and you want to get involved in blind or visually impaired football, or if you just fancy going along to take in a game, search for Merseyside Blind and VIFC on social media.